All right, so NFL news. Let's start with Saquon Barkley. I found this just crushing for Saquon because this guy has been playing at such an elite level all season. And you got to give respect where respect is due, right? I mean, Saquon Barkley, he opened up about this situation. He's not going to have a chance to break the NFL single-season rushing record. You're probably wondering why. Well, the Eagles have decided to shut him down for the rest of the season. Now, he said that he wasn't scared of making history or chasing Eric Dickerson's record. It was something that he wanted to pursue and something his teammates wanted to help him achieve. Now, of course, he probably didn't set out this season thinking that he was going to break 2,000 yards. But as the season, got about halfway through, there was a real opportunity for Saquon to do it. So what does that mean? Well, that means that Barry Sanders' record is still protected by Saquon because he's not going to be able to even break Barry Sanders' record. I think Barry's sitting at number 4 right now on the list. So that's good news for us. Bad news for Saquon. So Barkley let the decision come down to the Eagles, and they decided to rest him for the Week 18 finale against the New York Giants. I mean, it's smart, right? Why not risk injury to Saquon? It just doesn't make any sense because he's a big reason why that offense is having success. It makes sense. So he's going to finish with 2,005 yards, 101 shy of breaking Dickerson's 40-year-old record. Are we ever going to see it get broken? If there's a player that could do it, and if the Lions didn't have a duo running back system, I think that Jahmyr Gibbs could come close, if not do it. But until he's a lone back and he's getting the boatload of carries, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think Saquon is going to be the closest for a long time, as most NFL teams now have a pretty strong duo, and they're trying to split up carries because, as we've seen with running backs, man, I mean, they get injured at such a high clip, you have to kind of break it up a little bit. You got to protect your guys. Here's a quote from Saquon. He says, "When I slept on it, I was like, this is an opportunity to implement my name in football history. You may never get an opportunity like that again, so I'm down. But I don't care. If I'm putting the team at risk, he's the head coach for a reason. He makes the decisions, and whatever decision he wanted to make, if he wanted to play me, I'm going to go out there and make sure I'd get it. If we don't, I was okay with that too." If you remember, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, I mentioned Saquon, and I think it was a clip from this preseason, or it might have been last year, where he was going to break a single game record for himself. And he was put down somewhere near the fourth quarter or midway through the fourth quarter. Coach came up to him and said, "Hey, man, you're going to break this single game record. Would you like to go out there in the next series?" And he said, "Nope, just let the young guys eat, man. I'd rather see the young guys eat." So Saquon, I mean, he's a good dude, right? I mean, he's always been a good dude. And in this type of stuff, I'm sure that he would love to go and finish, what he started this season, but he's holding the team at the highest regard. And obviously the coach is making the decision either way. One of his linemen said that, obviously they wanted Saquon to get the record. Kind of sucks to see that it's not going to happen. But either way, what a great season for Saquon Barkley. So we've got to give respect where respect is due, man. So congratulations to Saquon. Pretty epic season. And we might see this dude in the playoffs. So you don't know. We might see this guy in the playoffs. And we've done pretty well against the run, but I have a feeling he might have a decent day. But whatever that is, as long as the Lions win, we don't care about stats anymore. We kind of got to give it up this season just because of the way our defense is kind of shaping up for the rest of the season. Next, I'm going to address this briefly, but the attack on New Orleans. So, when this all came down, it didn't seem like there was anything sinister going on, but the NFL did address it. So the NFL has reassured its fan base that the Super Bowl in New Orleans this season will be safe and enjoyable. It will be an experience that even after this recent terror attack in the historic city of New Orleans in the French Quarters on Wednesday morning that left more than 10 people dead and dozens injured, they're strategizing right now, right? And they want everybody to feel safe that it's going to go on without any issue. There's probably going to be a major heightened, pressure, I guess, from everybody to have a ton of police presence down there, which is probably a good idea. I personally have never been to a Super Bowl, so I don't know how much more heightened it is than just a normal game as far as police presence, but I can only assume that the NFL is spending some big money right now in making sure that they have a ton of, police, in gear and, street clothes, making sure that this is going to go off without a hitch. I'm not going to go deep off into this, but, the NFL put out a couple of statements, one saying that they are deeply saddened by the news of the devastating incident in New Orleans. Our thoughts are with the victims, the New Orleans community, and all those affected. The NFL and the local host committee have been working collaboratively with local, state, and federal agencies the past 2 years and have developed a comprehensive security plan. These plans and planning sessions will continue as they do with all major NFL events, and they are confident that the attendees will have a safe and enjoyable Super Bowl experience. So when you're a Detroit Lions, make it to the Super Bowl this season. That is an experience that we're going to be able to take in, hopefully, for the first time ever. We shouldn't be worried about it. That's what the NFL is stating. Now, the FBI also put out a statement. So I did not know this until late last night, but it is a terror attack. Here's their statement. This is from Washington, D.C.'s FBI National Press Office. It says, today at approximately 3:15 a.m. Central Standard Time, an individual drove a pickup truck into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street, New Orleans, killing at least 10 and injuring dozens of others. After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire. The subject was obviously taken care of. 2 law enforcement officers were injured and transported to local hospital. They did find, again, according to the FBI statement, they did find more weapons and a potential IED located in the subject's vehicle. So, man, bad timing. Never a good time for this stuff. Shouldn't be happening. NFL really needs to make sure they step up big time. Obviously, working with the FBI and other police sources, security sources, Homeland Security, making sure this stuff doesn't happen when you have hundreds of thousands of people down there for the Super Bowl or any given day. This kind of crap doesn't belong anywhere in the world, but let alone our country. More fun news. Let's get into some Mike Evans news here. So Mike Evans, I mean, we've gone up against Mike Evans a few times over the last couple of seasons. He's seemed to have pretty good games just about every time we match up against him. But Baker Mayfield on Mike Evans chasing his 11th 1,000-yard season and a playoff quest. And he said, if we win, Mike is getting the record. So in the unpredictably world of the NFL, there are few in history who have been consistently stellar at their position, and Mike Evans is one of them. He enters Sunday's game looking to tie Jerry Rice for the most consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield remains steadfast in his aim to get Evans there. So expect a lot of balls going to Mike Evans this weekend. So if you're still involved in fantasy or fantasy betting or any other betting props, clearly Vegas is probably not going to put a lot of money available on Mike Evans, but he's going to get fed this weekend. Quote by Mayfield said, let's put things into perspective. You're talking about tying somebody, Rice, that has all receiving records across the NFL throughout history. You're talking about somebody that consistently has been somebody in this community that has raised people up, continue to be the face of this franchise, and be there for people. So that record is important for us to get him to that. Obviously, winning is the most important part, but those two things go hand in hand. Now, Evans just needs 85 yards on Sunday, and this will be his 11th straight, and as I said before, 1,000-yard season. Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, he's what, a third of the way there, fifth of the way there, something like that. Can he be one of these guys mentioned in the next 10 years of being close to Jerry Rice's records or even breaking some of Jerry Rice's records? I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown could. He's well on his way. Next quote says, Mike is a huge part of this offense and a huge part of the passing game. And so getting him involved early and often is a lot of the reason we've had success. Those things go hand in hand. There's balance, and the most important thing is winning, but I see it playing out. If we win, Mike is getting the record. We have to focus on winning and getting him the ball, but our guys are playing for each other. End quote by Baker Mayfield. So big ups to Mike Evans. Look, have all the fun you want right now. But come postseason, we ain't having it. Not happening. If somehow the Lions have to face the Bucs, we ain't having it. The buck stops right here. All pun intended. Let's continue on with our NFL news so we can get to the good stuff. Lions news this morning. So everybody watching, we're paying attention to the Calais Campbell lottery. It might come to fruition, but will the Lions actually have a chance? There's a reason why I really haven't put out anything about this, because it is such a low-valued opportunity for the Lions to actually get a shot at Calais Campbell. There's so many teams in front of us that would add this guy in a heartbeat. But Tua Tagovailoa has a hip issue, and Tyler Huntley right now is preparing to start this weekend. And on the other side, it's Josh Dobbs for the 49ers, as Brock Purdy is down for the rest of the year. So there's a real opportunity if you have Tyler Huntley going up against Josh Dobbs. Dolphins may not win this week, and they need a lot of help. Dolphins need a lot of help to make a wild card spot. So be that as it may, I'm not expecting Calais Campbell in any way, shape, or form to really have an opportunity to become a Detroit Lion. So we'll keep on watching. We'll keep on paying attention, but I just don't have a ton to say on the subject right now until, there's a little weight on the subject. All right, last bit of the NFL news this morning. I'm sure there's a lot more, but this is it for me. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals. when I read this, when I came across this, I was thinking, okay, I see you, Joe, but what are you going to do about it? What do I mean is Jamar Chase and T. Higgins contracts coming up next season. He said he doesn't want to make a living out of letting great players leave. Now, Joe Burrow without Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, that's not an offense that I'm sure he wants to be part of. Very, very difficult guys to replace. So my question is Joe Burrow going to restructure his contract? Are we actually going to see what hasn't been done in a while? We don't typically see a lot of quarterbacks that, get paid the most money, or, defensive linemen or defensive edge players. The guys usually make the most money on an NFL team, restructuring their contracts to allow guys to get paid to stay with the team. Now, Joe's contract's, a little bit older, but he's still making a hefty amount of money. Question is he going to restructure? Now, Joe Burrow said this. He says, it's obviously a possibility, not one that I'm excited about, but that's not in the plans, I would say. And what he means is letting these guys walk. He doesn't want to see these guys leave the team. Now, Burrow's feelings on Chase and Higgins staying in Cincinnati are well documented, and these wide receivers have been entrenched in contract-related drama for this past season, with Chase sitting out training camp and Higgins unhappy with the franchise tag, requesting a trade at one point. Now, this duo has really ended up playing for the Bengals, in 2024 and hoping to get long-term contract issues resolved. Now, Burrow hasn't stopped stumping for his teammates and seemingly wants, the front office to do what's right here. Burrow said that whenever a great player leaves, you wish you could have found a way to keep him. You don't want to make a living out of letting great players leave the building. And I think that's why you got to do everything you can to get those deals done early. That's what Brad Holmes does. We have seen what Brad Holmes has done this last season, getting all of those deals done early, and we didn't overpay for anybody. Jared Goff gets his $50 million a year, and the quarterbacks that get signed after that are making way more. Penei Sewell gets his deal done. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets his deal done, and then the next wide receiver gets paid way more. So Brad Holmes did it right. He got the deals done at the right time. And I would say he got some bargains, on a couple of guys. Like Ali McNeil, I think that's a very fair deal. Penei Sewell, I think he was underpaid, to be honest with you, but very fair deal. So the Lions are doing it right, and that's why I wanted to bring this up this morning, is because what we've seen with the Detroit Lions over the last couple of seasons is get the players in-house and keep them there. You draft these guys for a reason. You've drafted, developed, you've grown these guys. They're homegrown, right? It doesn't make sense to allow them to leave and then go play for another team and have the success that they're having with another team. And without these guys, where would we be this season? So got to get it done early. We'll see what happens, here in this next NFL league year, but I don't think Joe Burrow's going to restructure his contract. And I think that's what's going to have to happen to get it done.